Unit 6 Part 2. So first is, what is impedance? Before exploring the different methods of measuring the internal resistance of the battery, let's examine what electrical resistance means and understand the difference between the pure resistance and impedance. R is pure resistance and Z includes reactive elements such as coils and capacitors. Both readings are obtained in ohms. The electric conductivity is also measured in Siemens, that is reciprocal to ohmic values. The electrical resistance of pure load such as heating element has no reactance. Voltage and current flow in unison and there is advancing or trailing phase. The ohmic resistance is same with the direct current, that is DC, and alternating current AC. The power factor is 1, providing the most accurate metering of the power consumed. Most electrical loads are reactive and consist of capacitive reactance and inductive reactance. The capacitive reactance decreases with higher frequency while the inductive reactance increases. A battery has resistance, capacitance, and inductance, and the term impedance includes all three in one model. The impedance can be best illustrated with this figure, which comprises resistor R1 and R2, which is shown here, and as well as capacitor C. The inductive reactance is commonly omitted because it plays a negligible role in battery and especially at low frequency. The overall battery resistance consists of ohmic resistance as well as inductive and capacitive reactance. The diagram and electrical values differ for every battery. So here R1 is internal resistance, R2 is charge transfer, and C1 is double layer capacitor. Now, what is battery impedance testing? The battery impedance testing is an internal resistance test. In DC battery system, the impedance indicates the general condition of the batteries that is tested without stressing the whole system and the batteries themselves, because it tests the whole system between the two terminal plates of the battery. It is ideal for spotting any weaknesses in cells. In simple words, the impedance is determined by an application of an AC current signal measuring the AC voltage drop across the battery and then calculating impedance by the use of Ohm's law. As the battery gets older, the internal impedance increases. By measuring the impedance, it is possible to determine the condition of the battery or a specific cell within a battery. So the battery impedance is the combination of internal resistance and reactance, where internal resistance plus reactance or L plus C, which is equal to impedance when using as an AC stimulus. The internal resistance of the battery is made up of two components, electric or ohmic, and resistive and ionic resistance. The electrical resistance is the measure of opposition to the current flow in electrical circuit, whereas the ionic resistance is the measure of opposition to the current flow due to internal factors such as electrode surface area and electrolyte conductivity. The internal ohmic value, that is AC resistance, can be useful as a trending tool, and it can help to indicate the overall health of the battery being measured. This AC resistance can be measured using an injection method. By where a small current, that 1000 Hz AC, for example, it is injected into the battery, then any variations are calculated using Ohm's law. A lower internal resistance generally indicates a higher capacity. Therefore, an increase in internal resistance over a time can indicate Declining battery capacity or degradation. Measuring the trend over the time will indicate which cells are weakest or abnormal. It is important to note, however, that the internal resistance varies between different batteries and battery manufacturers. The symbols for the battery impedance: L is internal resistance and C is reactance. A battery can be modeled as a voltage source in series with resistance. These type of models are known as equivalent circuit models. Another common model being physiochemical models that are physical in nature, involving concentrations and reaction rates. In practice, the internal resistance of the battery is dependent on its size, state of the charge, chemical properties, age, temperature, and the discharge current. It has an electronic component due to the resistivity of the component material and an ionic component due to the electrochemical factors such as electrolyte conductivity, ion mobility, speed of electrochemical reaction, and electrode surface area. The measurement of internal resistance of the battery is a guide to its condition, but it may not apply at other than the test conditions. The measurement of internal resistance of the battery is a guide to its condition but may not apply at other than the test conditions. Measurement with an alternating current, typically at a frequency of 1 kHz, it may underestimate the resistance as the frequency may be too high to take into account slower electrochemical processes. Internal resistance depends on the temperature. For example, a fresh Energizer alkaline primary battery drops from about 0.9 ohm to at 40 degrees Celsius when the low temperature reduces ion mobility to 0.15 ohm at room temperature and about 0.1 ohm at 40 degrees Celsius. So the internal resistance of the battery can be calculated from its open circuit VNL, load voltage VFL, and the load resistance RL. So R internal is VNL divided by VFL minus 1 into RL. Many equivalent series resistance meter, essentially AC milliohm meters, normally used to measure the ESR of the capacitor, that is equivalent series resistance of capacitor, and it can be used to estimate battery internal resistance, particularly to check the state of the charge of battery rather than obtain an accurate DC value. Some charges for rechargeable batteries indicate the ESR. In use, the voltage across the terminal of the disposable battery in driving a load decreases until it drops too low to be useful. This is largely due to an increase in internal resistance rather than a drop in the voltage of equivalent source. In rechargeable lithium polymer batteries, the internal resistance is largely dependent on the state of the charge but increases as the battery ages. Thus, it is a good indicator of expected life. Next is battery capacity. Next is battery capacity. So it is measured in watt hour, ampere hour, and milliampere hour. The battery capacity is measured typically in ampere hour of the charge stored by the battery, and it is determined by the mass of active material contained in the battery. The battery capacity represents the maximum amount of energy that can be extracted from the battery under certain specified conditions. However, the actual energy storage capabilities of the battery can vary significantly from the nominal rated capacity, as the battery capacity depends strongly on the age and the past history of the battery, the charging or discharging of the battery, and the temperature. Now, the units of battery capacity. First, we will see the types of batteries. Batteries generally can be classified into different categories and types, ranging from chemical composition, size, form factor, and use cases. But under all these, there are two major battery types: primary batteries and secondary batteries. Now, what is primary batteries? The primary batteries are the batteries that cannot be recharged once depleted, and the secondary batteries are the batteries that can be rechargeable. So, the units of battery capacity. First is ampere hour. The energy stored in the battery called the battery capacity, and it is measured in either watt hour, kilowatt hour, or ampere hour. The most common measure of the battery capacity is ampere hour, defined as the number of hours for which a battery can provide a current equal to the discharge rate at the nominal voltage of the battery. The unit ampere hour is commonly used when working with the battery system, as the battery voltage will vary throughout the charging or discharging cycle. The ampere hour is also called, it is the unit of battery capacity that measures the amount of charge that can be available in fully charged battery. This amount of charge is what determines the amount of current that can be discharged from the battery and its discharge time. This is why it is also called as charge or coulometric capacity. So, battery capacity ampere hour, it is also defined as the product of current that is drawn from the battery while the battery is applied to supply. The battery is able to supply the load until its voltage is dropped to a lower than a certain value for each cell. The ampere hour is given by the formula Q is into I, where Q is amount of charge and I is discharge current in ampere, and T is the discharge time in hours. For example, 200 hour ampere battery means that current of 100 ampere can be discharged through the battery of 2 hours. So 100 ampere into 2 hours is 200 ampere hour. Another example is 1200 milliampere hour battery means theoretically a current of 120 milliampere can flow through the battery for a 10 hour. That is 120 milliampere into 10 hour is 1200 milliampere. The ampere hour is the unit of electric charge Q, but not the standard international SI unit. The SI unit of Q is coulomb. The discharge current and the time from the above example is for ideal batteries. In reality, the discharge current and the time are not stable. They can vary based on certain conditions. The ampere hour can be seen in both high and low capacity batteries. However, in low capacity batteries, it comes as a milliampere hour. So the battery is made of different materials, that is lead acid, lithium ion, nickel metal hybrid, nickel cadmium. So these are the different types of these are different materials from which batteries can be made. Ampere hour capacity of the battery. An ampere hour is the amount of energy charge in a battery that will allow 1 ampere of the current in flow in a battery that will allow 1 ampere of the current to flow for 1 hour. So it is denoted by ampere hour. Conversions: 1 ampere hour in SI unit is 3600 coulomb and 1 ampere in farad is 0.037 farads. So there are variety of application. It is frequently used in the measurement of battery capacity, electroplating, X-ray imaging, diagnostic imaging, radiation therapy. Next is watt hour. Watt hour is the energy capacity of the battery. Ampere hour is the charge capacity of the battery. And the milliampere hour indicates 1000 of an ampere hour. Or ampere hour or milliampere hour is mostly seen on the bodies of the batteries, while watt hour is rarely seen. Watt hour gives a more accurate definition of the energy stored in a battery. So watt hour is energy capacity and ampere hour is charge capacity. The watt hour is unit of measurement that describe accumulated energy. 1 watt hour is the resulting energy from the operating at a power of 1 watt for 1 hour. This can be, for example, 1 ampere at 1 volt for 1 hour or 4 ampere at zero point 0.5 volt for half an hour and so on. The watt is the product of ampere and volt. The power capacity is how much energy is stored in the battery. So this power is often expressed in watt hour. It is the voltage V that the battery provide multiplied by how much current in ampere the battery can provide for some amount of time, generally in hour. So voltage into ampere into hour is watt hour. Since voltage is pretty much fixed for a battery type due to its internal chemistry, often only the ampere hour measurement is printed on the side, expressed in ampere hour or milliampere hour. 1000 milliampere is 1 ampere hour. To get watt hour, multiply the ampere hour by the nominal voltage. For example, let's say we have a 3 volt nominal battery with 1 ampere hour capacity. Therefore, it has a 3 watt hour of capacity. 1 ampere hour means, that is, theory can draw 1 ampere of the current for 1 hour or 0.1 ampere for 10 hours or 0.01, also known as 10 milliampere. 0.01 ampere means 10 milliampere for 100 hours. So the amount of current we can really draw, that is the power capability from the battery, is often limited. For example, a coin cell that is rated for 1 ampere hour can't actually provide 1 ampere of current for an hour. In fact, it can even provide 0.1 ampere without overextending itself. It's like saying a human has the capability to travel up to 30 miles. Of course, running 30 miles is a lot different than walking. Likewise, a 1 ampere hour coin cell has no problem providing a 1 milliampere for 1000 hours. But if we try to draw 100 milliampere from it, it's last a lot less than 10 hours. The way that the power capability is measured in coulomb. The charging discharging rate affect the rated battery capacity. If the battery is being discharged very quickly, that is the discharge current is high, then the amount of energy that can be extracted from the battery is reduced and the battery capacity is lower. This is due to the fact that the necessary component for the reaction to occur do not necessarily have enough time to either move to their necessary positions, though only a fraction of the total reactors are converted to other forms and therefore the energy available is reduced. Alternatively, the battery is discharged at a very slow rate using a low current, more energy can be extracted from the battery and the battery capacity is higher. Therefore, the battery of capacity should include the charging and discharging rate. A common way of specifying battery capacity is to provide the battery capacity as a function of time in which it takes to fully discharge the battery. The temperature of the battery will also affect the energy that can be extracted from it. At higher temperature, the battery capacity is typically higher than at lower temperature. However, intentionally elevating the battery temperature is not an effective method to increase the battery capacity, as this is also decreases the battery lifetime. Now milliampere hour milli means 0.001, so it is the unit prefix that represent thousands. So when we see milliampere hour, it actually means thousands of ampere hour. So to convert milliampere to hour, we have to multiply the milliampere by 0.001, and to convert ampere hour to milliampere hour, we have to multiply ampere hour by 1000. Most of the rechargeable devices have their battery rated in milliampere hour. Even the power bank, this is the one example. This is because they are of lower capacity compared to the batteries which are used in more energy consuming applications such as solar power system backup batteries. Simply, the higher the milliampere hour or ampere hour, more the battery capacity. Thus, the longer the battery takes to discharge. The time it takes for the battery to discharge depends on the load that is connected to it. Next is cycle life of lithium ion batteries. The cycle life of the batteries is the number of charge and discharge cycles that a battery can complete before losing performance. The cycle life of lithium ion batteries is affected significantly by the depth of discharge. The depth of discharge is the amount of battery storage capacity that is utilized. The lithium ion batteries' advantage have cemented their position as the primary power source for portable electronics. Despite the one downside where designers have to limit the charging rate to avoid damaging the cell and creating a hazard. Lithium ion batteries are the most robust and it can be charged for more rapidly using fast charging technique. The concept behind the lithium ion batteries is simple, but it still is simple. The lithium ion cells are based on intercalation compounds. The compounds are the materials with a layered crystalline structure that allows lithium ions to migrate from or reside between the layers. During discharge of the lithium ion batteries, ions move from the negative electrode through an electrolyte to the positive electrode, causing electrons to move in the opposite direction around the circuit to power the load. Once the ion in the negative electrode are used up, the current stops flowing. Charging the battery forces the ion to move back across the electrolyte and embedded themselves in the negative electrode, ready for the next discharge cycle. Next is power density versus energy density. The energy density is related to the amount of energy that can be stored per battery unit, whereas the power density is related to the maximum amount of energy that can be discharged battery unit. Although the energy density is the most commonly used measurement to determine battery performance, while the power density is still an important metric to consider when talking about the energy systems. The energy density watt hour per kg can be given as the amount of energy stored per unit, that is mass, area or volume, and corresponding power density watt per kg means amount of energy flow per unit, that is mass, area, volume per unit time. More simply, we can say energy density can be taken as the volume of the water tank and the power density can be a rate of water flow from the tap. The power density describes how quickly the device can deliver the energy, and the energy density describes how much energy that the device can store for a given mass per volume. So the device with a higher energy density can supply an electronic load for a longer than one with a low energy density and the same mass per volume. Energy density is the amount of energy stored in a given system or the region of a space per unit volume. It may also be used for the energy per unit mass, though a more accurate term for this is specific energy. Energy per unit volume has the same physical units as a pressure, and in many circumstances, For example, energy density of magnetic field can be expressed as a physical pressure, and the energy density required to compress a compressed gas a little more may be determined by multiplying a difference between the gas pressure and the internal pressure by the change in volume. So the energy density pack as much active material as possible. It minimizes fines, which makes weighting difficult and require more solvent and lower the solid contents in slurry. The power density higher void volumes, lower electrode press density and thickness. These energy density and the power density, these two parameters, are generally used for the comparison between the different energy storage devices such as battery and capacitor. Since three electrode system does not represent a capacitor device, there is no need to calculate this in system. The energy and power densities are commonly used for two electrode cells. Then next is electrical safety precautions. Never touch both battery terminals with a bare hands at the same time. Remove the rings, watch and jewelry when working with or near batteries. The metal in the jewelry can cause a shock or burn if they contact the battery terminals. Only use insulated non conducting tools to remove cell caps. Never lay tools or other metal parts on the top of battery. Consider convert battery terminals and connectors if possible with an insulated blanket before overheat inspection or repair. Ensure Ensure the charger is turned on before connecting or disconnecting a battery to prevent icing. Always Always wear a proper Next is handling battery acid. If electrolyte is taken internally, drink large quantities of water or milk. Do not induce vomiting. Call a physician immediately. Neutralize with a baking soda. Always wear a proper eye, face, and hand protection. Use non-metallic container to handle the concentrated liquids. Use extreme caution while handling electrolyte and keep an acid neutralizing solution readily available as precautionary measure. If electrolyte is consumed internally, drink large quantities of water. Drink large quantities of water or milk. Do not induce vomiting. When the battery is not in use, to prepare an electrolyte of desired specific gravity, always pour the connected concentrated acid slowly into the water. Do not pour water into the acid. Always stir the water while adding small amount of acid. If noticeable heat develops, allow the solution to cool before continuing to add acid. Next is safety handling of batteries. Use appropriate equivalent to load upload batteries from mobile equipment. Ensure you are trained in using the loading equipment. Keep the tools and other metallic objects away from uncovered batteries. Use baking soda or cleaning agent specified in AHA to neutralize spill acid. Always sorry. There are some safety precautions like when the battery is not in use, make sure we disconnect the battery from the battery connector. Never disassemble a battery as the material inside are mostly toxic and might damage the skin and cloth. Don't leave the battery in the charger after it fully charged. Never place the batteries in water as it may cause the battery to rupture and release the toxic gases. Never solder anything directly to a battery as it may destroy the safety features of battery. Never attempt to charge a battery that has been physically damaged. Next is supercapacitors, faster action than batteries. Similar to a battery, a supercapacitor also has electrodes with an electrolyte in between. The dominant principle of electrical energy storage is the charge separation and not as in the case of battery, the chemical energy that must undergo a chemical reaction during the charging and discharging. Now, how supercapacitor works? A supercapacitor is a new type of the energy storage device different than unconventional capacitor and rechargeable batteries. This is also known as electrochemical capacitor, electric double layer capacitor, gold capacitor and farad capacitor, and are electrochemical components that have been developed by polarized electrolyte. Now how a supercapacitor works. The supercapacitor's energy is stored in supercapacitor energy is stored in electric double layer where the charge separation is of a very small distance down to atomic distance. A consequences of this is that discharging, that is a power supply, is much faster than in battery. From a practical viewpoint, these capacitors can be seen as a complement or alternative to batteries. The much faster action is the main feature distinguishing supercapacitor from the batteries. Compared to, for example, lithium ion batteries, a supercapacitor can deliver more than an order of magnitude higher power per unit mass. For energy density, that is electrical energy dense storage per unit mass, the relation is reversed. Now there are some pros and cons of supercapacitor. The supercapacitor can be used in cars for dynamic braking, that is, to use the braking to drive an electrical generator that charges the supercapacitor or battery. It typically stores 10 to 100 times more energy per unit mass or the volume than electrolyte capacitor. It can accept and deliver the charge much faster than the batteries and tolerate many more charge and discharge cycles than rechargeable batteries. The supercapacitor are therefore used in applications requiring many rapid charge discharge cycles rather than a long term compact energy storage in automobile, bus, train, cranes, elevators, short term energy storage or burst mode power density. Fuel cells never discharge. It use as act as a battery and supercapacitor. A fuel cell also consists of an anode and cathode with electrolyte between them. Now, how fuel cell works? An electrical current is produced via redox radiations occurring on the electrode of fuel cell. The most common fuel cell is hydrogen fuel cell. On the anode, hydrogen molecules which are fed to the anode from an external supply dissociate to protons and electrons on catalytic material deposited on the anode, and protons travel toward the cathode through a electrolyte, which is the most common cases is a polymer electrolyte membrane. The electrons travel in the external circuit, thus creating a current eventually reaching the cathode. At the cathode, protons, oxygen atomic from dissociated oxygen molecules and electrons combine to form a water. The cathode also requires a suitable catalyst for the reactions there. Oxygen reduction reaction, air which is supplied to the cathode from the external supply. Thus, a fuel cell generates a current by using energy rich hydrogen molecules, that is, convert chemical energy to electricity. It should be noted that it is a fuel cell together with its fuel tank and oxygen supply that constitute an energy storage system, not the fuel cell alone. Now, fuel cell, there are some pros and cons of fuel cell. Contrary to a battery or a supercapacitor, a fuel cell is never discharged but generate a current and voltage as long as hydrogen fuel and oxygen are supplied. Charging a fuel cell system consists of filling its fuel, for example hydrogen, into a tank. In recent decades, the fuel cell have become popular in electrical and hybrid cars. They are also subject to high current interest in development projects for a small scale stationary applications for storing solar electricity from excess supply to the low supply time. Here, hydrogen is produced by the electrolysis and stored using oversupply of electricity from a solar cell during daylight hours. During the dark hours, electricity is produced by the fuel cell using the stored hydrogen. Some current development projects aim for much longer storage time, storing hydrogen produced during summer time to generate electricity during winter time. A drawback of this fuel cell is its need for expensive noble metal catalyst on the anode. This can be reduced or eliminated by running a fuel cell at high temperature using ceramic electrolyte material, so it is used in a so-called SOFC, that is solid oxide fuel cell. Thank you.